The desperate stand. The vast expanse of space, once a realm of wonder and exploration for humanity, had become a battlefield. Earth, a blue jewel suspended in the cosmic ocean, found itself besieged by an alien force known as the Centaur Dominion. For 3 relentless years, the skies above every major city on the planet had been scared by the constant exchange of weapons fire between Earth's defense forces and the seemingly endless waves of Centaur warships. In the underground command center of the United Earth Defense Force, UEDF, Admiral Sarah Chen stood before a holographic display of the solar system, her weathered face illuminated by the flickering red dots representing enemy vessels. She watched as another cluster of blue lights, signifying Earth's fleet, winked out of existence. "Status report," she demanded, her voice steady despite the weight of impending doom that hung in the air. Lieutenant Commander Akira Tanaka, her aide-de-camp, stepped forward. "Admiral, we've lost the Titan defense group. The Centaur have breached our outer perimeter. At current rates, our remaining forces will be overwhelmed within 72 hours." Chen closed her eyes, allowing herself a brief moment of despair before snapping back to the cold reality of their situation. "And Project Lazarus?" Tanaka's eyes lit up with a glimmer of hope. "Dr. Ilara Singh reports that they're ahead of schedule. The prototype is ready for its first full power test." For the first time in months, a small smile tugged at the corner of Chen's lips. "Then it's time we showed these bastards what humanity is truly capable of. Contact Dr. Singh. Tell her to prepare for immediate deployment." Deep within the hollowed-out core of Olympus Mons on Mars, a cavernous hangar buzzed with activity. At its center stood humanity's last, best hope, a battleship unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. Its sleek, obsidian hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, broken only by pulsing lines of blue energy that ran along its length like digital veins. Dr. Ilara Singh, a brilliant physicist of Indian descent, stood on an observation deck overlooking the marvel of engineering. Her life's work, along with the combined efforts of the brightest minds Earth had to offer, had culminated in this moment. "Dr. Singh," a voice called out, breaking her from her reverie. She turned to see Captain Marcus Drake, the man chosen to command this unprecedented vessel, approaching with purposeful strides. "Captain," she greeted him, her accent a melodious blend of New Delhi and the Martian colonies. "I assume you've received the orders." Drake nodded, his piercing blue eyes reflecting the determination that had made him the top candidate for this mission. "Indeed, we're to launch immediately. Are you certain she's ready?" Ilara's gaze returned to the ship. "As ready as she'll ever be. The Lazarus incorporates technology we've reverse-engineered from Centaur wreckage, combined with theoretical physics that were pure speculation just a few years ago. She's our moonshot, Captain. Our last roll of the dice." "Then let's make it count," Drake said, placing a reassuring hand on Ilara's shoulder. "You'll be coming with us, of course. We'll need your expertise if anything goes wrong." As the crew of the Lazarus prepared for launch, news of their impending mission spread through the ranks of Earth's defenders like wildfire. Hope, an emotion long thought lost, began to rekindle in the hearts of soldiers and civilians alike. In orbit around Earth, the Centaur fleet pressed its advantage, unaware of the game-changing weapon about to be unleashed. Aboard the enemy flagship, Supreme Commander Zexkor observed the battle with cold satisfaction. His mandibles clicked in anticipation of final victory. "Prepare the planet cracker," he ordered his subordinates. "It's time we ended this pitiful resistance and claimed this world for the glory of the Dominion." But as the massive weapon began to charge, alarms blared across the Centaur fleet. A wormhole, larger than any they had ever encountered, tore open the fabric of space-time. From its swirling depths emerged the Lazarus, its hull crackling with energy. Captain Drake's voice echoed across all frequencies, a declaration of defiance and hope. "Attention, Centaur forces. This is Captain Marcus Drake of the Earth ship Lazarus. You came to our world seeking easy conquest. Instead, You awoke a sleeping giant. It's time you learned why humanity has survived every calamity thrown our way. We do not go gently into the night. We rage against the dying of the light. And today, we bring that light to you. With that, the Lazarus unleashed its first salvo. Beams of concentrated dark energy lanced out, cutting through Centaur shields as if they were tissue paper. Whole squadrons of enemy fighters evaporated in an instant. Aboard the Lazarus, Ilara worked feverishly at her console, monitoring the ship's experimental systems. Captain, the dark energy reactor is stable. We're operating at 89% efficiency and climbing. Drake allowed himself a grim smile. Excellent. Weapons control. Target the enemy flagship. Let's show them the full might of human ingenuity. As the battle raged, the tide began to turn. The Lazarus moved with impossible speed and agility for a ship of its size, its advanced inertial dampeners allowing for maneuvers that defied the laws of physics as understood by the Centaur. In the UEDF command center, Admiral Chen watched in awe as the single human vessel tore through the enemy fleet. "By God," she whispered, "we might just win this thing." The Centaur, faced with a foe they could neither understand nor overcome, began to retreat. Supreme Commander Zekskor, his flagship in ruins around him, realized too late the error of underestimating humanity's resolve. As the last of the Centaur ships fled the solar system, a cheer went up across Earth and its colonies. The Lazarus had done the impossible. It had given humanity a fighting chance. But Captain Drake and his crew knew this was only the beginning. The Centaur would return, and Earth would need allies if it hoped to survive in a hostile galaxy. As the Lazarus set course for the edges of known space, its crew prepared to embark on a journey that would shape the destiny of their species. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, armed with determination, ingenuity, and a ship that defied the impossible. The galaxy would never be the same again. Part 2. First Contact with the Alliance. The Lazarus cruised through the inky void of deep space, its revolutionary engines humming with barely contained power. 2 weeks had passed since their decisive victory against the Centaur fleet, and Captain Marcus Drake stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the unfamiliar star patterns that drifted across the main view screen. "Status report, Lieutenant Rodriguez," Drake called out, his voice carrying the weight of their mission. Sophia Rodriguez, the ship's navigation officer, responded without taking her eyes off her console. "We're approximately 50 light-years from Earth, Captain. We've entered a region of space previously unexplored by human probes." Dr. Ilara Singh, who had taken up a semi-permanent position on the bridge, added, "The dark energy reactor is operating at peak efficiency. We've traveled further in 2 weeks than humanity has in its entire history of space exploration." Drake nodded, a mix of pride and apprehension coursing through him. They were truly in uncharted territory now, seeking allies in a galaxy that had so far proven hostile to human existence. Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. "Multiple contacts detected," shouted the tactical officer, Sergeant Weichen. "Configuration unknown. They don't match any Centaur designs we've encountered." "Battle stations," Drake ordered calmly. "Raise shields, but do not power weapons. Let's not start a fight if we can avoid it." The view screen shifted to show a group of sleek, almost organic-looking ships approaching. Their hulls shimmered with an iridescent quality, like the scales of some cosmic fish. "We're being hailed," Rodriguez reported, surprise evident in her voice. Drake straightened his uniform. "This is it, people. First contact. Let's make it count." On screen, the image of an alien being appeared before them. It had a vaguely humanoid shape, but its skin was a pale lavender, and its eyes, 3 of them, were arranged in a triangle on its face. When it spoke, its voice was melodic, almost singing. "Greetings, travelers. I am Ambassador Ziller of the Galactic Confederation. We've been monitoring your journey since you left your home system. Your victory against the Centaur was impressive." Drake, momentarily taken aback by the alien's use of English, quickly regained his composure. "I am Captain Marcus Drake of the Earth ship Lazarus. We come seeking allies in our fight against the Xenthar Dominion." Ziller's eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture that seemed to convey interest. "The Xenthar are known to us. They have been a scourge upon this quadrant for centuries. Many worlds have fallen to their expansionist crusade. Yet you, a species unknown to us until now, have managed to drive them back. Fascinating." Ilara stepped forward, unable to contain her scientific curiosity. "You speak our language. How is this possible?" The alien ambassador made a sound that might have been laughter. "We have been observing your world for some time, Dr. Singh. Your broadcasts have traveled far, and we find your species intriguing. But come, this is not a conversation to be had over view screens. Will you join us on our homeworld? We have much to discuss." Drake exchanged glances with his senior staff. This was exactly the kind of opportunity they had hoped for, but caution was still warranted. "We would be honored, Ambassador Ziller. However, you understand that we must take precautions. Our world is at war." Ziller's expression softened. "Of course. Your caution is wise. Allow me to extend an invitation to you and a small delegation to visit our capital city. The rest of your crew may remain aboard your impressive vessel. We will provide coordinates shortly." As the transmission ended, the bridge erupted into excited chatter. Drake raised a hand for silence. "This is a historic moment, but let's not lose our heads. Dr. Singh, you'll accompany me. Sergeant Chen, assemble a security detail. Lieutenant Rodriguez, you have the con." Hours later, Drake, Ilara, and a small team from the Lazarus found themselves in a sprawling alien metropolis that defied human architecture. Spires of crystal and living metal reached into the sky, while anti-gravity platforms carried beings of various species through the air. Ambassador Zillar led them to a vast chamber where representatives from dozens of alien races were gathered. The ambassador's voice rang out, "Esteemed members of the Galactic Confederation, I present to you the humans of Earth." A murmur rippled through the assembly. Many eyes, some familiar, others utterly alien, focused on the human delegation. Ziller continued, "These brave beings have done what many thought impossible. They have stood against the Xenthar and emerged victorious. They come seeking alliance, and I believe we would be fools to turn them away." An entity that seemed to be made of pure energy floated forward. Its voice resonated directly in their minds. "We have observed your kind for many cycles. You are young, volatile, often violent. Yet you possess a spark of innovation that we have rarely seen. Your ship, this Lazarus, utilizes principles that our greatest minds are still grappling to understand. How did you manage such a feat?" Ilara stepped forward, her voice steady despite her awe at the gathering. "Necessity, honored one. With our world under threat, we pushed the boundaries of science and engineering. The Lazarus is the result of human determination and the contributions of countless brilliant minds." Another alien, this one insectoid in appearance, clicked its mandibles before speaking. "Pretty words, but can these humans be trusted? Their history is fraught with conflict." Drake met the alien's compound eyes without flinching. "We do not deny the darker chapters of our history, but it is because we have faced our own demons that we stand united now. We come not to conquer, but to cooperate. The Xenthar threaten not just humanity, but all free species in the galaxy. Together, we can end their tyranny." The chamber fell silent as the assembled aliens considered Drake's words. Finally, a being that resembled a sentient gas cloud pulsed with light as it spoke. "The human speaks wisely. The Xenthar have long been a threat to galactic peace. Perhaps it is time we took a more active stance." Ziller raised his arms, calling for attention. "Esteemed colleagues, I propose a motion. Let us welcome humanity into the Galactic Confederation. Let us share our knowledge, our resources, and stand together against the Xenthar threat. The vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. As the majority of representatives signaled their assent, Drake felt the weight of history on his shoulders. In a matter of hours, humanity had gone from a species fighting for survival to a member of a vast interstellar alliance. As the formalities concluded, Xylar approached the human delegation. "Captain Drake, Dr. Singh, this is but the first step. We have much to learn from each other and little time to prepare. The HFY will not take this alliance lightly." Drake nodded solemnly. "We're ready for whatever comes next, Ambassador. Humanity has been given a second chance, and we don't intend to waste it." As they prepared to return to the Lazarus, Drake couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. They had achieved their primary mission, finding allies. But he knew that the real challenges were just beginning. The HFY would return, and when they did, they would face not just humanity, but a united galactic front. The Lazarus, once a symbol of Earth's desperation, now represented hope for countless species across the stars. As the ship broke orbit, its course set for Earth with news of the alliance, Drake allowed himself a moment of reflection. They had taken a giant leap into a larger universe, and the future, while uncertain, was bright with possibility. The tide turns. 6 months had passed since Earth joined the Galactic Confederation, and the solar system was abuzz with activity. Alien ships of various designs now shared orbit with human vessels, their crews working tirelessly to integrate technologies and strategies. The Lazarus, once unique in its capabilities, was now the template for a new generation of hybrid warships. Aboard the Lazarus, Captain Marcus Drake stood in the newly expanded engine room, watching as Dr. Ilara Singh collaborated with a team of alien engineers. The ship's dark energy reactor pulsed with even greater power, now augmented by crystalline matrices of Xyrilian design. "How's it coming, Doctor?" Drake asked, his voice raised over the hum of machinery. Ilara looked up from her work, her eyes shining with excitement. "It's extraordinary, Captain. The Xyrilian crystals have boosted our power output by 300%, and that's just the beginning. We're integrating Volcrin shield harmonics and Thzeri targeting systems. The Lazarus is becoming something entirely new." Drake nodded, a mix of pride and concern on his face. "Let's just hope it's enough. Our long-range sensors have detected a massive buildup of HFY forces at the edge of the Orion Arm. They're coming, and in numbers we've never seen before." Ilara's expression turned serious as she processed Drake's words. "We'll be ready, Captain. The combined knowledge of a dozen species has gone into these upgrades. The HFY won't know what hit them." As if on cue, the ship's intercom crackled to life. Captain Drake to the bridge immediately. Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice rang out, tension evident in her tone. Drake and Ilara exchanged a glance before hurrying to the bridge. As they arrived, the main view screen displayed an astounding sight. A massive fleet of Confederation ships had assembled near Jupiter's orbit. Ships of all shapes and sizes, representing the diverse species of their new allies, formed a defensive line that stretched as far as the eye could see. "Report," Drake commanded as he took his seat. Rodriguez's fingers danced across her console. "Sir, long-range sensors have detected the HFY fleet entering the solar system. They'll be within engagement range in approximately 3 hours. Numbers." Sergeant Chen's voice was grim as he responded. "Conservative estimates put them at over 10,000 ships, sir. It's the largest force we've ever encountered." Drake took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. "Send word to the fleet. All ships to battle stations. It's time we show the HFY what a united galaxy can do." As the Lazarus moved into formation with the Confederation fleet, tension mounted across every ship. This battle would determine the fate not just of Earth, but of countless worlds across the galaxy. The first sign of the HFY arrival was a massive distortion in space, a wormhole large enough to swallow a planet. From its maw poured an endless stream of enemy ships, their hull designs even more menacing than before. "They'd been busy too," Ilara muttered, her eyes fixed on the sensor readings. Those ships are putting out energy signatures unlike anything we've seen from them before. Drake nodded grimly. They knew we'd be prepared. They wouldn't come unless they thought they had the upper hand. He opened a channel to the entire Confederation fleet. All ships, this is Captain Drake. The enemy is here in force, but so are we. Remember what we fight for. Not just our own worlds, but for every species that values freedom and self-determination. Today, we draw the line. Today, we show that HFY, that the galaxy will not bow to their tyranny. Engage at will, and may fortune favor the bold. With that, the largest space battle in galactic history began. The void lit up with weapons fire of every conceivable type. Plasma beams, graviton torpedoes, dark energy lances, and weapons beyond human understanding. The Lazarus led the charge, its upgraded systems allowing it to dance through the enemy formation with impossible agility. Drake watched as his crew worked in perfect sync, coordinating with their alien allies as if they'd been fighting together for years. "Target the enemy flagship," Drake ordered. "Let's cut the head off this snake." The Lazarus's main gun, now a hybrid of human and alien technology, charged with a sound that seemed to shake the very fabric of space. When it fired, a beam of coruscating energy lanced out, cutting through Centaur shields like they weren't even there. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Confederation ships, empowered by shared technology and united purpose, tore into the Centaur fleet. But the enemy was far from helpless. Their numbers allowed them to absorb incredible punishment, and their return fire was devastating. "Hull breach on Deck 7. Chen shouted as the Lazarus shuddered under enemy fire. "Emergency force fields are holding, but we can't take many more hits like that." Drake gritted his teeth. "Divert power from non-essential systems to the shields. Ilara, we need more juice from that reactor." For hours, the battle raged. Space itself seemed to warp and twist under the strain of so much energy being unleashed. Ships on both sides fell by the hundreds, then thousands. The Lazarus, despite its advanced technology, bore the scars of intense combat. Just when it seemed the tide might turn against them, a new signal appeared on the sensors. "Captain," Rodriguez called out, her voice filled with disbelief. "You're not going to believe this. We're detecting wormhole signatures, hundreds of them." Drake's heart sank, fearing reinforcements for the enemy. But as the wormholes opened, ships of familiar design poured out, human ships, bearing the markings of Earth's long-lost colonies. A transmission came through, and a face Drake had only seen in history books appeared on the screen. "This is Admiral Jenna Chen of the Proxima Centauri Defense Force. Sorry we're late to the party. Earth, we've come to return the favor you did for us centuries ago." Cheers erupted across the Lazarus's bridge. The lost colonies, thought destroyed or subjugated by the Centaur years ago, had survived. They had rebuilt, they had prepared, and now they had returned in Earth's darkest hour. With renewed vigor, the combined forces of Earth, its colonies, and the Galactic Confederation pressed their attack. The Centaur, caught off guard by this unexpected reinforcement, began to falter. Hours later, as the last Centaur ship fell silent, an eerie quiet settled over the battlefield. The view screen on the Lazarus showed a sea of debris where two mighty fleets had clashed. But among the destruction, ships of the Alliance still stood, battered but unbroken. Drake slumped in his chair, exhaustion and relief washing over him in equal measure. "Damage report," he managed to say. Chen's voice was tired, but carried a note of triumph. "Heavy damage across all decks, sir. But we're still here. We won." Ilara, her hair singed and her uniform torn, laughed softly. "We did more than win, Captain. We've changed the course of galactic history." As if to punctuate her words, transmissions began pouring in from across the galaxy. Word of the Centaur defeat had spread, and countless worlds were rising up, throwing off the shackles of their oppressors. Drake stood, addressing his crew, and through them, all of humanity. This victory belongs to all of us, not just humanity, but every species that stood with us. We've proven that together, we can overcome any obstacle. The Xanthar sought to divide and conquer. Instead, they united us, made us stronger than ever before. He paused, looking out at the stars, no longer a realm of terror, but a sea of possibilities. Our journey isn't over. There will be challenges ahead, new threats to face, but we'll face them together, as part of something greater than ourselves. The galaxy is entering a new age, an age of cooperation, of exploration, of hope. And we'll be there, at the forefront, ready for whatever comes next. As the Lazarus set course for Earth, leading a procession of ships from a dozen worlds, Drake couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity had not only survived its trial by fire, but had emerged as a linchpin in a new galactic order. The future, vast and unknown, beckoned. And this time, they would meet it not alone, but as part of a united galaxy, ready to write the next chapter in their shared history. Secrets of the enemy. The victory against the Xanthar had ushered in a new era of peace and cooperation for Earth and its allies. In the months that followed, the Lazarus had become a symbol of unity, its hybrid technology a testament to what could be achieved when species worked together. But Captain Marcus Drake knew that the war was far from over. As the Lazarus orbited a gas giant in a system near the former Xanthar border, Drake stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the swirling storms below. The ship had been retrofitted once again, now sleeker and more powerful than ever. "Penny for your thoughts, Captain." Dr. Ilara Singh's voice broke through his reverie. Drake turned to face his chief scientist, a wry smile on his face. "Just thinking about how far we've come, and how far we still have to go. The Xanthar are down, but not out. We need to understand them better if we're going to end this war for good." As if on cue, Lieutenant Sofia Rodriguez called out from her station. "Captain, we're receiving a priority transmission from Confederation High Command." On screen, Drake ordered, straightening his uniform. The image of Admiral Zillar, their old friend and now Supreme Commander of the Confederation forces, appeared before them. The alien's three eyes blinked in sequence. A gesture Drake had learned indicated urgency. "Captain Drake, we have a situation," Zyler began without preamble. "Our deep cover operatives have uncovered something disturbing. The Xanthar are gathering their remaining forces for a last-ditch effort. But it's not an attack. They're protecting something. Something they value more than their own lives." Drake leaned forward, intrigued. "What have you found, Admiral?" "We're not entirely sure," Zyler admitted. "But whatever it is, it's located deep in Xanthar space, on a planet they call the Crucible. Our intelligence suggests it's the source of their technological advancements, possibly even the key to their entire civilization." Ilara's eyes widened. "If we could access that." "Exactly," Zyler nodded. "It could end the war once and for all. But there's a catch. The planet is heavily guarded, and its location is a closely held secret. We need someone to infiltrate a Xanthar command post, retrieve the coordinates, and then lead an assault on the Crucible itself." Drake didn't hesitate. "The Lazarus stands ready, Admiral. When do we leave?" Zillar's expression was grave. "Immediately. I'm transmitting the details now. This mission is of the utmost secrecy, Captain. The fate of the galaxy may well rest on your success." As the transmission ended, Drake turned to his crew. "You heard the Admiral. We're going behind enemy lines. This won't be easy, and I won't order anyone to come along. If you want to sit this one out, now's the time to say so." The bridge was silent for a moment before Sergeant Wei Chen spoke up. "With all due respect, sir, we didn't come this far to back down now. The Lazarus goes, we go." A chorus of agreement echoed across the bridge. Drake felt a surge of pride in his crew. "All right then." Lieutenant Rodriguez set a course for the coordinates Admiral Zillar provided. "Dr. Singh, I want every scrap of intelligence we have on Senthar defenses. We're going in hot, and I want to be prepared for anything." As the Lazarus slipped into hyperspace, its crew prepared for what might be their most dangerous mission yet. They were about to venture into the heart of enemy territory, seeking answers to questions that had plagued the galaxy for centuries. Days later, the Lazarus dropped out of hyperspace on the edge of Senthar space. Before them loomed a massive space station, its architecture a twisted blend of organic and mechanical forms. "That's our target," Drake said, studying the holographic display. "According to our intel, the station's central computer should have the coordinates we need. Dr. Singh, you'll lead the away team. Get in, get the data, and get out. We'll provide whatever distractions you need." Ilara nodded, her face set with determination. "Understood, Captain. We won't let you down." As Ilara and her team prepared for the infiltration, Drake turned to Chen. "Sergeant, I want you to prepare for every contingency. If things go sideways, we may need to fight our way out." The plan was set in motion. Using a combination of Volcrin cloaking technology and Thizeri sensor scramblers, a shuttle carrying Ilara, and a small team of specialists managed to dock with the Senthar station undetected. Meanwhile, the Lazarus engaged in a dangerous game of cat and mouse with Senthar patrols, drawing attention away from the infiltration team. Drake watched the tactical display with growing tension, knowing that every moment increased the risk of discovery. Inside the station, Ilara and her team moved swiftly through dimly lit corridors. The architecture was unsettling, with walls that seemed to pulse with an inner life. They encountered little resistance, which only served to heighten their unease. "Something's not right," Ilara whispered as they approached the central computer core. "This is too easy." As if in response to her words, alarms began to blare throughout the station. A voice, harsh and alien, echoed through the corridors. "Intruders detected. Initiating purge protocols." "So much for stealth," one of the team members muttered. Ilara's fingers flew across the alien console, her mind racing to decipher the complex encryption. "Cover me," she ordered. "I need more time." Outside, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. The Lazarus found itself surrounded by a growing number of Senthar warships. "Captain," Rodriguez called out, her voice tense, "we can't hold this position much longer. The away team needs to abort." Drake gritted his teeth. "Negative. They're too close. We hold until they complete the mission." He opened a channel to Ilara. "Doctor, what's your status?" Ilara's voice came through, punctuated by the sound of weapons fire. "Almost there, Captain. The encryption is unlike anything I've seen. It's not just a code. It's alive somehow." As Ilara worked, her team held off waves of Senthar soldiers. The aliens were unlike any they had encountered before, more machine than organic, moving with unnatural speed and precision. "Captain Drake, we have a situation." Xyler began without preamble. "Our deep cover operatives have uncovered something disturbing. The Xenthar are gathering their remaining forces for a last-ditch effort. But it's not an attack. They're protecting something. Something they value more than their own lives." Drake leaned forward, intrigued. "What have you found, Admiral?" "We're not entirely sure," Xyler admitted. "But whatever it is, it's located deep in Senthar space, on a planet they call the Crucible. Our intelligence suggests it's the source of their technological advancements, possibly even the key to their entire civilization." Ilara's eyes widened. "If we could access that—" "Exactly," Xyler nodded. "It could end the war once and for all. But there's a catch. The planet is heavily guarded, and its location is a closely held secret. We need someone to infiltrate a Xenthar command post, retrieve the coordinates, and then lead an assault on the Crucible itself." Drake didn't hesitate. "The Lazarus stands ready, Admiral. When do we leave?" Ziller's expression was grave. "Immediately. I'm transmitting the details now. This mission is of the utmost secrecy, Captain. The fate of the galaxy may well rest on your success." As the transmission ended, Drake turned to his crew. "You heard the Admiral. We're going behind enemy lines. This won't be easy, and I won't order anyone to come along. If you want to sit this one out, now's the time to say so." The bridge was silent for a moment before Sergeant Wei Chen spoke up. "With all due respect, sir, we didn't come this far to back down now. The Lazarus goes, we go." A chorus of agreement echoed across the bridge. Drake felt a surge of pride in his crew. "All right then." Lieutenant Rodriguez set a course for the coordinates Admiral Ziller provided. "Dr. Singh, I want every scrap of intelligence we have on Senthar defenses. We're going in hot, and I want to be prepared for anything." As the Lazarus slipped into hyperspace, its crew prepared for what might be their most dangerous mission yet. They were about to venture into the heart of enemy territory, seeking answers to questions that had plagued the galaxy for centuries. Days later, the Lazarus dropped out of hyperspace on the edge of Senthar space. Before them loomed a massive space station, its architecture a twisted blend of organic and mechanical forms. "That's our target," Drake said, studying the holographic display. "According to our intel, the station's central computer should have the coordinates we need. Dr. Singh, you'll lead the away team. Get in, get the data, and get out. We'll provide whatever distractions you need." Ilara nodded, her face set with determination. "Understood, Captain. We won't let you down." As Ilara and her team prepared for the infiltration, Drake turned to Chen. "Sergeant, I want you to prepare for every contingency. If things go sideways, we may need to fight our way out." The plan was set in motion. Using a combination of Volcrin cloaking technology and Thizeri sensor scramblers, a shuttle carrying Ilara and a small team of specialists managed to dock with the Senthar station undetected. Meanwhile, the Lazarus engaged in a dangerous game of cat and mouse with Senthar patrols, drawing attention away from the infiltration team. Drake watched the tactical display with growing tension, knowing that every moment increased the risk of discovery. Inside the station, Ilara and her team moved swiftly through dimly lit corridors. The architecture was unsettling, with walls that seemed to pulse with an inner life. They encountered little resistance, which only served to heighten their unease. "Something's not right," Ilara whispered as they approached the central computer core. "This is too easy." As if in response to her words, alarms began to blare throughout the station. A voice, harsh and alien, echoed through the corridors. "Intruders detected. Initiating purge protocols." "So much for stealth," one of the team members muttered. Ilara's fingers flew across the alien console, her mind racing to decipher the complex encryption. "Cover me," she ordered. "I need more time." Outside, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. The Lazarus found itself surrounded by a growing number of Senthar warships. "Captain," Rodriguez called out, her voice tense, "we can't hold this position much longer. The away team needs to abort." Drake gritted his teeth. "Negative. They're too close. We hold until they complete the mission." He opened a channel to Ilara. "Doctor, what's your status?" Ilara's voice came through, punctuated by the sound of weapons fire. "Almost there, Captain. The encryption is unlike anything I've seen. It's not just a code, it's alive somehow." As Ilara worked, her team held off waves of Senthar soldiers. The aliens were unlike any they had encountered before, more machine than organic, moving with unnatural speed and precision. Finally, Ilara let out a triumphant shout. "I've got it. Coordinates to the Crucible, and, Captain, you're not going to believe this. I'm transmitting everything now." "Good work, Doctor," Drake replied. "Get back to the shuttle immediately. We're leaving." The retreat was chaotic. Ilara and her team fought their way back to the shuttle, the data secure in a heavily encrypted device. As they approached the Lazarus, they saw the ship engaged in a fierce battle with the Senthar fleet. "Shuttle secured," Chen reported as the small craft docked. "But we got bigger problems. The Xenthar are powering up some kind of superweapon. Drake's mind raced. They couldn't stay and fight. Not against these odds. But they couldn't lead the Xenthar back to Confederation space either. Plot a course for the Crucible, he ordered. If they want to chase us, let's make it count. As the Lazarus broke free of the Xenthar formation, Drake turned to Ilara, who had just arrived on the bridge. What did you find, Doctor? What was so important that you risked everything to transmit it? Ilara's face was pale, her eyes wide with a mixture of awe and fear. Captain, the Crucible. It's not just a planet. It's the original homeworld of the Xenthar. But more than that, it's alive. The entire planet is a single sentient entity, and if I'm interpreting this data correctly, it's dying. The implications hit Drake like a physical blow. You're saying the Xenthar aren't conquerors. They're refugees. Ilara nodded slowly. Refugees desperately seeking a new home for their living planet. Their entire civilization, their history, their future. It's all tied to the Crucible. And now we're headed straight for it. As the Lazarus raced towards the heart of Xenthar space, its crew grappled with this new revelation. They had set out to find a weapon, a means to end the war. Instead, they had uncovered a truth that would reshape their understanding of their longtime enemy. Drake stared out at the stars streaking by, his mind wrestling with the moral implications of their discovery. They had started this mission seeking a way to destroy the Xenthar. Now they might be the galaxy's only hope for peace. Send a message to Admiral Zillar, Drake said finally. Tell him we're going to need diplomats. It's time we talk to the Xenthar. As the Lazarus hurtled towards its destination, the crew prepared for a confrontation unlike any they had faced before. They had unlocked the secrets of their enemy, but the greatest challenge still lay ahead. The fate of two civilizations, and perhaps the entire galaxy, now rested in their hands. The final battle. The Lazarus dropped out of hyperspace into a system unlike any the crew had ever seen. At its center hung a planet that defied description. A swirling mass of energy and matter, pulsing with an inner light that seemed to reach out into space itself. My God, breathed Lieutenant Rodriguez, her eyes wide as she stared at the main view screen. Is that the Crucible? Captain Drake confirmed, his voice hushed with awe. The living heart of the Xenthar civilization. But they had little time to marvel at the sight. Alarms blared across the bridge as sensors detected multiple ships closing in on their position. Xenthar war fleet incoming, Sergeant Chen reported, his fingers dancing across his console. They'll be in weapons range in 2 minutes. Drake straightened in his chair, his mind racing. They had come here seeking understanding, maybe even peace, but it seemed the Xenthar weren't in a talking mood. Open a channel, he ordered. All frequencies. As Chen complied, Drake took a deep breath. This is Captain Marcus Drake of the Earth ship Lazarus, representing the Galactic Confederation. We come in peace, seeking dialogue. We know about the Crucible. We understand now why you fight. Please, let us help you. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, a harsh alien voice filled the bridge. You know nothing, human. You and your kind are a blight upon the galaxy. The Crucible is ours to protect, ours to save. Your interference ends now. The transmission cut off abruptly, replaced by the ominous sight of Xenthar ships moving into attack formation. So much for diplomacy, Dr. Ilara Singh muttered. Drake's jaw tightened. We tried. Battle stations, everyone. Let's show them why you don't corner a human. The space around the Crucible erupted into chaos as the Lazarus engaged the Xenthar fleet. Energy weapons lanced across the void, shields flared and buckled, and explosions blossomed in silent bursts of light and debris. Despite being vastly outnumbered, the Lazarus held its own. Its hybrid technology, born from the combined knowledge of multiple species, allowed it to dance through the Xenthar formation, dealing devastating blows while avoiding the worst of their counterattacks. But even the most advanced ship in the Confederation had its limits. As the battle raged on, the strain began to show. Hull breach on Deck 3. Chen shouted over the din of alarms. Shields down to 30%. Drake gripped the arms of his chair, his knuckles white. Divert all non-essential power to shields and weapons. We need to buy more time. Time for what, Captain? Rodriguez asked, her voice strained as she maneuvered the ship through a hail of enemy fire. Before Drake could answer, Ilara's voice cut through the chaos. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy fluctuations from the crucible. It's destabilizing. All eyes turned to the view screen, where the living planet was visibly convulsing, its swirling patterns becoming erratic and violent. The battle, Ilara continued, her voice filled with realization. The energy weapons, the shield impacts, they're all affecting the crucible. If this continues, it could tear itself apart. Drake's blood ran cold. If the crucible was destroyed, it would mean the end of the Xanthar civilization. Genocide on an unimaginable scale. Despite everything that had happened, everything the Xanthar had done, he couldn't let that happen. Cease fire, he ordered, his voice cutting through the tension on the bridge, and open a channel to the Xanthar fleet. As his crew complied, looks of confusion on their faces, Drake stood. This is Captain Drake. Look at your sensors. The crucible is destabilizing. If we continue this fight, we'll destroy the very thing you're trying to protect. Stand down, and let us help you save it. For a heart-stopping moment, the Xanthar ships continued their assault. Then, slowly, the weapons fire began to taper off. A new voice came over the comm, different from before. This one was deeper, resonant with an authority that seemed to vibrate through the very hull of the Lazarus. I am High Commander Xexthor of the Xanthar Dominion. Speak quickly, human. How can you possibly help us? Drake nodded to Ilara, who stepped forward. This is Dr. Ilara Singh. The Crucible is suffering from quantum instability caused by centuries of interstellar travel and the recent battle. But we have technology, a combination of dark energy manipulation and Xyrillian crystal matrices that could stabilize it. We can save your world, but we need to act now. There was a pause that seemed to stretch for an eternity. Then approached the Crucible. We will escort you. As the Lazarus moved towards the pulsing planet, flanked by Xanthar ships, Drake turned to his crew. I know I'm asking a lot. If this goes wrong, we're with you, Captain, Chen said firmly, the rest of the bridge crew nodding in agreement. The next few hours were a blur of frantic activity. The Lazarus extended its shields around a portion of the crucible, while Ilara and a mixed team of humans and Xanthar worked to adapt their technology to the living planet's unique physiology. From the bridge, Drake watched with bated breath as energy flowed from the Lazarus into the crucible. The planet's violent convulsions gradually began to subside, its swirling patterns slowly regaining their former harmony. Finally, after what seemed like days but was merely hours, Ilara's tired voice came over the comm. We've done it, Captain. The crucible is stabilizing. It's going to take time, but I think it's going to survive. A cheer went up across the bridge, quickly stifled as they remembered their tenuous situation. But when Drake looked at the view screen, he saw that Xanthar ships had stood down, their weapons powered off. The comm crackled to life once more. Captain Drake. It was High Commander Xexthor. It seems we owe you a debt. Perhaps we have misjudged your species and the Confederation. Drake allowed himself a small smile. We've all misjudged each other, High Commander, but maybe now we can start to change that. In the days that followed, as diplomats from both sides hammered out the details of a historic peace accord, Drake stood in the Lazarus's observation lounge, looking out at the crucible. The living planet pulsed with a steady, healthy glow, a testament to what could be achieved when former enemies worked together. Ilara joined him, her eyes also fixed on the miraculous sight before them. "You know," she said softly, "when we started this journey, I thought we were going to find a weapon to end the war. Instead, we found a way to end it with compassion." Drake nodded, a sense of pride and hope filling him. That's the thing about exploration, about pushing boundaries. You never know what you're going to find out there. Sometimes it's danger, sometimes it's wonder. But it's always an opportunity to learn, to grow. As the Lazarus prepared to return home, its mission complete in ways no one could have predicted, Drake couldn't help but feel optimistic about the future. They had faced the unknown, confronted their preconceptions, and emerged stronger for it. The galaxy was vast and full of mysteries, but as long as there were those willing to reach out with open minds and open hearts, there was hope for understanding, for peace, for a future brighter than any single species could achieve alone. The war was over, but humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning.